Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Yep, like the video. Check out the podcast below in the description.
Niners Pats this week, John. Niners Pats. Once upon a time, if the stars had aligned, maybe be a Super Bowl preview. This week, I got to double check. I think I read it's the second lowest total in over-under in the league in the NFL this week. And you were telling me the Niners are not favored in this game?
Last I checked this morning, mybookie.ag, promo code HAM1, plus 2.5. Now, the game is, I think this used to resonate a lot more. We've been talking a lot about this. Vegas hasn't really adapted this year yet to the home field. I don't think they know what to do. In fairness, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but playing at Foxborough, it's not a morning game either. I mean, for us, it's 1:25, so for them, it's a 4:25 kickoff. That would have been over the last couple decades, if not the most. I mean, I know it may not be quote-unquote the loudest, but definitely the most hostile environment where you go, we were not going to go into Foxborough and win, right? Like that was just, you were going to lose that game. If you just thought we had to go on the road to the Patriots, Tom Brady, Belichick, all those guys, then half his team opted out, Tom Brady left. It's like this team is not we still have a lot of respect for Belichick, but the Patriot team that we're used to saying, like when you said the Yankees, it resonates right now or over the last couple decades. If you said the Yankees in like the early 90s, it wasn't the same. Like this team, the Patriots, listen, I have a lot of respect for the head coach. I think he's the greatest ever. What he's dealing with right now, his unit and just his group of players is a shell of its former self.
But I do think of it's been 8 years since the 49ers went in there with Kaepernick. Do you remember it was like rainy and
it looks so cold. Oh.
And the Patriots almost pulled off this crazy comeback. Kaepernick threw 4 touchdowns. Brady threw 65 passes in that game.
Niners won.
Right? Randy Moss Niners won. But the Patriots scored 24 points in the fourth quarter. They almost came back. I think the 49ers.
Was that a Sunday night game?
It was.
Yeah.
I think they were going to play like Monday night the Seahawks the next week, or maybe they had just played the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. It was some weird back to back. But when you look at this game, when you start comparing, right? Cam just came back. Now we talked about Cam on the podcast, the first podcast of the week. I don't think he's getting some big contract, but you said it and you can't deny. Like his skill guys, right? If you just compare skill players on these two teams, it's not even without Raheem Mostert, who's out in all likelihood, it's not even close. You agree with that? Niners versus Patriots skill guys.
If you would have told me just over the 2 years of body of work watching N'Keal Harry, and I probably watched N'Keal Harry much closer than I did Brandon Ayuk when he was in college.
Yeah,
I would.
He was part of that.
I would have predicted the opposite.
N'Keal was for 3 years. You're like, okay, this guy.
Yeah, he just hasn't. Like, it's pretty clear. Like Brandon Ayuk is going to be a pretty impactful NFL player. I think there are still a lot of questions on N'Keal, and it's crazy to say. I guess my overall point is, I would have assumed before the draft, I would have rather had Harry than Ayuk, and that's wrong. I think Ayuk is the more. Every team in the league would take Ayuk over Harry. Is that fair to say right now, including the Patriots?
Yep.
Would trade that one.
Yep, I think that's fair. And really, they've got
Edelman's old, and they're just can't. The reality that to me their main issue is, and I remember you said this the game before Cam got corona, and who did they play? I'm trying to bring
after the
Raider game. Yeah, in the first half he just wasn't. They ended up winning. I mean, the score looks a lot better. He threw 160 yards. It was like, whoa, this doesn't kind of look like that Seattle game. Because I think the Seattle game, Sunday Night Football, is like, Cam Newton's back. Threw for 397 yards. It's like running him at the goal line. The last 2 weeks, now he missed the one in the middle of the Chiefs game. He's been shitty, guy. 162 yards, 157 yards. Even the first game against the Dolphins, 155 yards. Like, they are playing a quarterback based on this season. The Seattle game's an outlier. He's a 150-yard-a-game passer. Like, that's just who Cam Newton is. And I'll defend him a little. Like you said, the skill guys suck.
You know how many receiving touchdowns Edelman has this year?
1.
0.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't been that good. He looks older, looks a little slower. His hands have always been a little bit of an issue. It's weird for like a sure-handed slot guy. He does drop some passes.
He just makes clutch catches, though. Historically in his career, maybe that's part of it.
That helps. I'm a huge Jules guy. Like, I'm a huge fan of him. But to me, this is his last year on the Patriots. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Like,
yep.
He'll be done.
The other part of this is, and I saw somebody asked Shanahan during his press conference on Monday, like, what is it? You've gone against Bill 3 times. You've had pretty good success from an offensive standpoint. What is it that he does best? And he's like, well, he just takes away your best player. And we've seen it, particularly with the tight ends, right? Because now you would agree, too, I think, Kittle looks 100%. Like, Kittle looks fantastic. Waller was 2 catches for 9 yards, none in the first half when the game mattered. Kelsey was 3 for 70. Mike Gesicki, John, was 3 for 30. I think the one thing when I look at the Niners is they can deal if you take their best player away. Like, Shanahan can deal with that. So that part of this game, I mean, Belichick should worry you every week. He does. That part of what he's done doesn't overly concern me because I think we see repeatedly Kendrick Bourne making the biggest catch of the game, or up there with the biggest catches of the game. So that part doesn't overly concern me either this week. I don't know how you feel about that.
I'd say a defining attribute of Kyle Shanahan, like it or not, is distribution to everybody. He's not like a force feed one guy 12 targets. Now that happens, I think, organically in some games, but I think ideally, like, they like Kittle at 7 or 8, and then the other guys at 5 or 6. Multiple guys at 5 or 6. Like, most of their games don't have a guy with 14 catches and then everyone else has 3 or 4 catches, right?
Yeah.
It's typically, like, when I think a Kyle Shanahan successful game, it's they run the ball a lot. They hand the ball off to their wide receivers. Hell, they hand the ball off to Kittle, which probably Belichick, why does he have success against them? Because, like, who do you take away? Like, they've won a lot of games where Kittle's had 3 catches. Like, they don't need Kittle to go off to win. Hell, he had a borderline historic game, right, against the Eagles when he had like the 15 catches for 180 yards and they lost. I'd say that I think they like to avoid that. It's like a little bit of basketball. Like, they'd rather have multiple guys with 20 than one guy get 35 and everyone else in like the low teens.
Yeah. Because
it just keeps everyone involved. And it feels like as a play caller, he's more in rhythm when he's going left, right, not just force feed. Like, that's Kyle's, to me, his greatest strength is, like, if Kyle was a boxer, you wouldn't be like, well, he's got an uppercut. No, it's like, no, his uppercut's solid, his right hook solid, his left jab's good. Like, you kind of got to be, it's like Floyd. He's coming from everywhere. He's not Mike Tyson, where trying to think of an offensive coach. That's probably an Andy Reid strength overall, is he can feed it to everybody. He just gets a little probably, and they talked about on the Monday night broadcast, it's like he always says he wants to run the ball, then he starts throwing it. Like, Kyle's strength is he literally wants to run it. Yeah. Like, it's kind of opposite of most young coaches. It's like, we want to run. You're like, no, you really mean pass? No, like, we want to run.
I also, don't you think from a coaching standpoint, for somebody to have like a Mike Tyson hammer, that's about a player?
Yeah, right? It's like you have a Julio or Hopkins, you just force feed.
But the other part of this game is that they need it. Like, after what happened on Monday Night Football, the second game, the Cardinals game, blowing out the Cowboys. I mean, the Niners were last place in the NFC West.
That's the problem. One thing I would say, just on the over-under in this game, do you know the only game that's under this point total? What it is this week?
The matchup? Is it whoever the Jets play?
No, it's the Giants-Eagles game.
Oh.
So the Jets-Bills game is a point higher than the Niners. So it just shows you, like, I would probably take the over, but I took the over in the Monday night game and got burned, so who knows? If you're talking a game is going to be 17-10, like, that's kind of going to be a boring slugfest, which might just be the way the Niners have to win. The problem will be big picture. They will have to pivot really quick after this game. Like, that's like the style in which they won the Rams game, and then hypothetically how they can win this game is not going to work the next 3-week stretch, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Just even the Saints, who Drew Brees is older right now. Michael Thomas will be back. Kamara is going to score touchdowns. Like, they still got Jared Cook. Obviously, the Packers can score because you don't play defense like Tampa. So it's like you can just, and maybe it's just live in the moment, win this game, and then worry about that later. I do think there is something in, like, you got to get Jimmy. Like, you can hide him this game fine and win, but eventually, like, you can't hide him against Seattle. So you're just going to be like, oh, we're just going to lose that game. Like, don't you want him to throw
No,
some?
he'll have to make plays, but I don't think you can play this game. I think the first thing you said is right, like AKA live in the moment. I don't think you can play this game because I think the margins are just so thin, right? In terms of you just got to execute consistently and constantly, and you can't have Jimmy throw a pick six. You've got Garland's out. I mean, they say Hronis Grasu is the third string center, John, but that's if you don't. So Richburg got hurt. Jake Brendel opted out. Spencer Long retired. Now Garland's hurt. Now we're at Grasu. Tart's got the groin. They'll reevaluate. Trent Williams sprained an ankle. I don't think you can go. I don't think there's going to be the opportunity in this game to be like, all right, we can relax a little. Let's work on some stuff for next week with Jimmy.
I'm not saying work on some stuff.
No, I know, but
there's a chance that this game is just maybe you're down 17-10 and Jimmy has to throw. Like, you can't. To me, and I'm not trying to be ignorant of like the main goal this week is to win the game, but you can't just like approach games. That's what shitty teams do. Like, we got to hide our quarterback. If that's your mindset, like you agree, you could lose any week.
Absolutely. But I guess what I'm saying is I don't think we'll know, like, is Jimmy back up to the task ahead of time? I think we'll get that answer in the moment that we need to find it out. Yeah, because Kyle's not going to do it until he has to.
I got a text from a buddy in the NFL. He's probably just bored at work, like looking at the lines.
Yeah, Andy
he's like
every week Andy checks my bookie.
Not him. Oh. He just said, "God, is the line? What's up with the Niners line?" Basically saying like, "Why aren't the Niners favored?"
Isn't that how we felt last week? It felt too small.
Yeah, but this one is like the Patriots' offense is gross. Like, this is like at the end of the day, the Niners when they lost to the Dolphins. That was kind of crazy. But the Dolphins might not be as shitty as we thought. Like, this one,
but the score was,
to me, a huge part of them just being favored is because it's in Foxborough. But what does that matter? Because they're one of the places where there are just no fans allowed.
Yeah.
It is a long flight. There is something to that, right? It's a long travel.
The Niners do have a lot of, I mean, the Mostert injury, right? It's easy to talk yourself into they're banged up. I get it. It's Bill.
But the Patriots, just to begin with, will just missed half their defense.
For sure.
And,
yeah.
Edelman has been banged up. Cam just has missed time. The one thing you would say, though, if they can take Kittle away, they do have Stephon Gilmore to just put probably on Debo or Ayuk so they can take that guy away. Yeah. So it's just Kendrick Bourne and whoever the other wide receiver that Gilmore is not on. I think that will be pretty telling if Gilmore follows one of the two of them around. Who Belichick thinks the better wide receiver is.
Well, we know who the most productive has been, and that's Debo, right? Like, is this the game where Ayuk it's not about it? I don't want to say gadget, but it's about, can you just throw the ball to Ayuk have him 6 catches down the field? Is that going to happen on Sunday?
Well, you're playing a team that runs like Edelman threw 2 passes last week. 2. Like, they ran multiple
one to
passes.
Cam, right?
Yeah, so they are.
I'm not anti-gadget. I'm just saying.
But to me, when you're running double passes, like you're running. But these are 2 teams running gadget shit because you know why? Their passing game sucks right now. Both of them. They're kind of that Spider-Man GIF. It's not even a GIF. It's just a picture where they're both pointing at each other. Yeah. That's kind of these 2 teams, like just pointing at each other.
Yeah.
Because when you're running double passes, multiple in a game, and the Niners are fucking doing whatever they have to do. I think both of them are in somewhat of the same lane of like, we do not feel great about our passing game.
Sure.
And the difference, like you said, is the Niners do have way more talent to throw to.
Yeah, and it feels like it's more. Now, I guess the Patriots have always kind of done this. It does feel like that part of that is more just in Kyle's DNA, right? Like, if Kyle were a pitcher, he would not be 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, right? No. He'd be the guy that's you walk back to the dugout like, how did he get me on that? Like, I didn't see that pitch coming.
But wouldn't you say Josh is a little like that too as a play caller over the years?
Yep, for sure.
When I watch the Patriots, I actually see, and this is probably why Belichick likes Kyle so much, you see a lot of Kyle in, I say Josh, but just the Patriots mindset of, we'll do whatever we have to do to win this game. Like, I have a run philosophy, but if it doesn't work and I got a pass to win, I'll do it. Like, for the most part, I think Kyle falls into the Patriot way of not being that stubborn. And I know he's had some bad low moments, and I think most coaches have. But game in, game out, he's pretty open-minded to do whatever works to get it done. And he'll pivot if something's not working, right?
Yeah. What my dad would always say to me when I was trying to, like, help him put something together, and I was getting frustrated, which was usual because that skill's not in me. Brains over brawn. Like, be smarter than the desk. Be smarter than the screw.
You're like, God damn it, why won't the screw in?
The other thing he'd say is like,
well,
you're not going to do it on one. You're not going to get it done sitting down. Stand up. I'd always be like sitting with like the thing on my lap. You know, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Now I pay somebody.
That's why you get up so early to work.